My computer's slow. Here we go. My computer's slow.
Welcome to the Planning Commission meeting for the City of Saratoga Springs for March 25th, 2021. I need to read a brief statement to start. I, Troy Cunningham, Planning Commission Chair, hereby determine that conducting the Planning Commission meeting at an acre location presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present at the acre location. The World Health Organization, the President of the United States, the Governor of Utah, and the County Health Department have all recognized a global pandemic exists related to the new strain of the coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2 COVID-19. Due to the state of emergency caused by the global pandemic, I find that conducting a meeting at an anchor location under the current state of public health emergency constitutes a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present at the location. This written declaration expires 30 days from the date signed. Signed, Troy Cunningham, Saratoga Springs Planning Commission Chair, dated March 18th, 2021. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll go ahead and lead that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have a quorum present of the Planning Commission. It looks like Bryce Anderson and Josh Wagstaff are absent this evening. They join us later. Oh, Bryce Anderson is with us, sorry. Is here. I don't see Commissioner Wagstaff. So we do have enough for a quorum, so we'll go ahead and proceed with our first item, public hearing for a major amendment for the Wildflower Community Plan, approximately Mountain View Corridor and Harvest Hills Boulevard. Nate Ship with DAI as the applicant, and Tippy Moreland will be presenting for us. Go ahead, and Tippy, whenever you're ready.
All right, can you see my screen?
No.
Okay, let's wait until it goes through.
There we go. Now I can see it.
Okay. So we have 3 wildflower items today. The first is a community plan amendment, and I'll just note here that items 4 and 5, 2 village plans, are contingent upon approval of this amendment. So they were submitted with these proposed regulations in mind. So, oh, sorry, let me go back up one more. Yep, so this is for the entire wildflower community. However, it's just a few text amendments as summarized in the letter from the applicant to the council on my next slide. If it goes through, here we go. So the staff report that I prepared addressed every item here that the applicant has identified. Staff is comfortable with all the requested changes with a few exceptions. We request that no changes be made to the definition of native open space. We request that the applicant maintain trail connections that they have removed as conceptual for this updated community plan. We also request that if there are trails shown on both sides of a public road, we're recommending that one side be shown with a concrete trail and one side with an asphalt trail rather than having asphalt sidewalks on both sides. Mostly because this is, as a public street, this is a part of our typical cross sections. And this is how it ended up being installed for the first section of Wild Blossom Boulevard as Harvest Hills crosses west over Mountain View Corridor. So we're just asking to continue that. And then for the last item, the zone classification for their commercial area, the applicant's requesting office warehouse zone for self-storage units, and staff is against that as well. In the conditions of approval, we also have several language clarifications, but staff is comfortable with all other changes proposed. I have some slides if you wanted to get into detail with some of the bigger changes. The density transfer they're proposing does fall within the 15% allowed in the current approved community plan. So this means that they don't require city council approval, but they are documenting it here. There's the definition of native open space. Staff recommends that we keep the current definition. The highlighted areas on the right are kind of the trail areas that you see on the left that were removed, and we'd like that or some form of connection to stay. The commercial area is here that they're requesting to have the self-storage unit. So staff is recommending that no changes be made to Village 2, that it stay neighborhood commercial and community commercial. Also, I added a condition of approval, number 3, to address this topic if the Planning Commission wants to recommend that storage units be allowed or disallowed in the Wildflower commercial area at this point in time, or to defer it to the village plan approvals. Here's a picture of the overall community if we need to refer to this. And I'll turn this item over to the Planning Commission for questions.
Okay, thanks, Tippy. I believe Nate Ship is with us from DAI. Would you like to add anything to the presentation, Mr. Ship?
Oh, wow. Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to work with you and your staff. I think Tippy's done a great job. After a thorough review of her staff report, we were very comfortable with all of her recommendations. We feel like this is something that is ready to move on to the City Council with a recommendation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Ship. Okay, so this is a public hearing, so I want to make sure the public has a chance to make any comments. Tippy, have you received any emails from the public in regards to this?
Not at this point in time.
Planning Director Stroud, have you received any comments from the public in regards to this?
At this time, I have not.
Okay. Mr. Young, you're new for the city, but I was going to ask you, have you received any public comments in regards to this? Okay. I have not received any emails either. So I'm going to go ahead and close the public comments section of this item for now and turn this over to the Planning Commission for questions or comments.
I'll go.
Go ahead, Commissioner Kilgore.
Okay. Just wondering about the chain link fencing. I was wondering if an exception is needed here. I wonder, what does the staff think about whether should all dog parks allow chain link fences? What is that something that we want to do, or why is an exception needed here, and why would you grant it? Because it is a very specific use here, and I'm wondering if that's something that should be reflected in the code going forward or in the future.
Yeah, we haven't had any dog parks like this in the city before. And this one is actually quite large, a lot larger than other dog parks you might see, because they have, a leashed area or a smaller area and then an open native trail corridor for dogs. Because of the size of this, the applicant has made this request. It will not just be plain chain link. Nate, correct me if I'm wrong, it's black coated chain link. So it's a little bit nicer quality. Thinking of dog parks I've been to, actually, I can't recall any that didn't have chain link. So it would be good to get this on our code amendment list. However, with the community plan process, they are allowed to request this as an exception. So as long as it's only in the dog park area and only for the specified northern area around the lake, staff felt comfortable with the applicant's request.
Okay. Yeah, and that being the case, especially because it's a black chain link fence, I thought that was really nice. It does have a lot better appeal, and so I just wonder, maybe that's something that in the future when we're doing code amendments, maybe we consider that for dog parks. Because like you, I've only been to maybe 3 or 4 dog parks, but they've all had chain link. None of them that I've been to had black chain link, and I think it would look a lot better. But it does make sense that it might be the right place for it, but maybe depending on size. But of course, as the applicant is allowed to ask for this exception, I think it, I understand. I think it does make sense.
Just if I could jump in there quick,
Yes, please.
really the purpose with the community plan, village plan is to request things that are not strictly in line with Title 19. That, when we reference Title 19 codes in the village plan or community plan, it's typically, XYZ standard will meet Title 19. Otherwise, in a very section will specify something different that is specific just to this individual development itself. And so, yeah, with the black coated vinyl or black vinyl coated chain link, yeah, I mean, it's chain link, true, but it is better with the black vinyl coating. It actually helps it, kind of hide somewhat as far as the visual aspect of it. Obviously, the uncoated, the silver color is typically much more visible to the eye and than the black. We do allow chain link on city utility sites if they're a certain distance away from residential. And so it's not unprecedented to have chain link in developments. And so we've looked at this. We feel that based on, the use for a dog park, yeah, we're okay with that. The same thing when you build baseball fields and whatnot. You really only have one option when it comes to that as far as those types of fencing. That would be a chain link as well. And so as far as staff and Tippy's outlined it, that, we're comfortable with what he's proposed.
Yeah, I think it's a good. In fact, that's why we had talked. It was a few months ago about maybe we'd like to increase the number of dog parks that are in the city, and considering that again, chain link is a very good option, or it's a very common option, and maybe we should just go ahead and put that in the code as well, just allowing it for a dog park, or at least have a discussion about that if we are going to encourage dog parks in the city and just make it easy. We don't necessarily need a cement wall or or a vinyl fence. But anyway, I think it's worth discussing. But as far as the application goes, I think it's fine. I'm just saying maybe that's something we should consider for a future code change. So about the asphalt trails and applying at least one concrete or a concrete tail at least on one side. Is the applicant okay with that? Sounds like maybe you guys were okay with the request made by the staff. So just wanted to check if you guys were okay with that.
I appreciate you asking. Yes, we're good with it. I think it makes sense.
Okay.
The intent is that we've designed the property with jogging trails and walking trails, different uses in mind, and the different surface types allow for those different uses to work better. And so having one side or the other is good with us. Makes sense.
Very good. And while I got you, just wondering, what was the reasoning behind wanting to change the native open space definition? I was wondering if there was something that was difficult to handle in the current code, or what was the main reason for that, for your original request?
Well, the main reason is that the current definition is very broad, and we're leaving large acreages undisturbed in their native state. The concern is that we're going to have to go in and disturb more of the property, trying to remove plants that are existing there. And by doing that, and that process of disturbing the property, we run the risk of every time you disturb the dirt from its native state, new invasive species tend to pop up first. And so we're a little bit concerned about having to get into a never-ending cycle where we can't ever get to the point where the invasive species on this list are completely eradicated. Those species are over that entire mountain as it sits right now, and they've been identified as invasive, so we're going to be trying to remove them as best we can. We were hoping to narrow that scope somewhat so that we didn't chase our tails forever. We'll give it our best shot though, and see what we can do if that's, you know, what the decision is.
Now, it sounds like, so to the planning staff and to Tippy, it sounds like the applicant is willing to accept the recommendation, the staff recommendation that we keep the current code in there. How do you respond to what, you know, some of the concerns that the applicant has with regards to our current code? Does it really put that kind of a, you know, onus burden on the applicant based on what you've seen?
Yeah, this is in our engineering standards. Native landscaping is different than undisturbed landscaping. You get different credits for those types of open space if you're a standard subdivision in the city. So native open space does have to be manicured. So it does have to be taken care of so that the invasive species are removed and that the native plants and species are established. Jeremy knows the most about this. I don't think he's here today. Maybe Gordon has something to add, but this comes from our engineering standards, I believe. And this is what we require all other subdivisions in the city to do. And again, this is just because undisturbed landscaping receives much less credit in a typical subdivision for the city.
Okay. All right, thank you. Yes.
Gordon, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I'm just saying that Tippy said it just fine.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you, Tippy.
Go ahead, Commissioner Kilgore.
Okay. I was wondering why did the applicant not want to extend Astor Drive to SR 73? What was your reasoning behind that that original request?
So that's a great question. We've actually been working with our neighboring property owners who are in Eagle Mountain City. And we've been working on some road layouts. I actually appreciate the comment that came from engineering. I think that may have been Gordon. As we've looked at the traffic analysis a little bit closer, the amount of traffic that's coming from the south of SR 73 that will be flowing along that road, it needs to be contiguous. The design that we presented actually showed it flowing into a new road that would run north to south and connect up to Wild Hills Boulevard. We don't want that traffic necessarily that's coming from the south to end up on Wild Hills Boulevard, because then we believe it will end up on the interchange at Mountain View Corridor at the entrance to Wildflower, and it would be better if that off-site traffic flowed along the south side over to the Mountain View Corridor through Astor Drive. So I like this idea. I think it makes sense. We're going to adjust our roadways to make it match now.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that explanation. And then for this is a question to the planning staff. So with the storage units, the request was to change the zoning to office warehouse. What would to allow the storage units? And I guess that's a separate question, you know, for us to consider. But as far as the rezone, what would be the consequences of having rezoned? There was some explanation in the staff packet, but I didn't really catch on what the intent of the city was, where we thought that keeping it the current zone is better.
Yeah, the intent was, this is a village plan from this, if you can see my arrow here up to here, where this is meant to transition from the residential areas, and it even has some residential in it itself, to the commercial business park type area. So the intent was for this to be the more intensive commercial use, and then Village 2 to have more of the neighborhood style uses. For instance, there's a school going in on this corner, you know, as long as the village plan is approved, Ascent Academy. And there are other neighborhood type uses going in over here. So we didn't think that a storage unit would be compatible with those smaller commercial type uses. Additionally, we didn't want, when David Johnson was here, we were talking about how we didn't want this to go from a shopping center regional commercial zone, which, if you recall, we just rezoned this to planned community. We didn't want that to go to an industrial zone. We didn't think the council would support that, and we didn't think it made sense with the location being at the convergence of two highways in the city. So this village plan hasn't been submitted yet, and we suggested that the applicant break down which sections of this area they would like to see, which zones specifically. And we would likely push or recommend that the applicant keep the more regional commercial and community commercial uses in the more visible areas of this region.
Okay, thank you for that. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, also for storage units, it's worth noting that they are only allowed in the office, warehouse, and industrial zones in the city.
Okay. I'm gonna skip skip or leave that topic right now, even though that's probably something we need to discuss that more. But will the applicant be okay with putting the conceptual neighborhood breakdown exhibit back into the community plan as requested? Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, we're good with everything that we've talked through with Tippy and her recommendation.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind going back, Commissioner, to the conversation about the storage units.
Yeah.
If that's okay.
Yeah, that was my last question anyway. So I think, and this is a bigger topic, so that's why I wanted to ask that question. And
so really there's two parts to this. One, the part is to move the OW zone area to apply to the type 5 9-acre site where Tippy's mouse is right now. And I apologize, I'm looking at a screen to my left, so I'm not looking away from you all. I'm just looking at where Tippy's mouse is. Currently, we're looking as an overall plan project, a build out, to have tens of thousands of square feet of retail and office warehouse space. Included in that is an additional 14 to 15,000 residents that will be moving into the Wildflower neighborhood as a whole. And as we look at the build out and we look at the different offerings that we have from the community standpoint, we've spent a lot of time developing our trails plan and our parks plan and our road plans. We feel like it's in best planning to include an area for some storage. It's not the most pleasant thing to plan for, but we also plan for sewer lines and other things that, you know, we need to make sure we have good planning principles behind. And so our intent has always been to kind of stick that over where Tippy's mouse is right now. In that spot, there's a wash that runs through there. There's no other residential planned around it. Our neighbors to the west is the Central Utah Water Project that they have, you know, a big water plant there. And so that is our plan. Now, a little while ago, we were approached by the Central Utah Water group about some expansion plans that they're exploring. And they wanted to expand to the east. And so when they asked me that, I said, well, I can't just remove that storage. I've got to be able to put it somewhere. And so I said, if the city, you know, was willing to let me adjust the size of the CC, RC, BP, OW area and get it larger so that I could move my storage units, you know, around, then that works. I'll still have space. But if they're not okay with it, then I'm just going to leave my plan like it is. So I promised them I would come ask. Tippy has raised some really good points as to why that doesn't make sense. And I'm going to say we asked, and you're going to give me an answer. I think we need to have some space for storage units in the overall master plan. With that many people coming and that kind of an impact, it's good planning to have that as something that's part of the overall master plan. But I'll leave the request there and tell you that Tippy's made some really good points. I promised I would ask. So that's where we are.
Thank you.
Does
So,
that make sense?
yes, and thank you for that. And I'm going to I'm done with all my questions. I know this is a much bigger topic we want to discuss, but I'm going to turn it, I'm done, Commissioner Cunningham. So
Okay, thank you,
yeah, we can
Commissioner
continue.
Kilgore.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to open this up to other planning commissioners if they have other comments. I do agree with Commissioner Kilgore. We probably need to have a bigger conversation in regards to the storage units. So kind of my thinking is right now, let's go through, if you have comments on the storage units, let's kind of hold those for now, and we'll go through everybody and get their feelings on that. But right now, let's cover some of the other topics, if that works for you guys. So who would like to go next?
I've got a couple of questions.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner McConkey, you can have the floor.
Thank you. I appreciate Ken's comments. Had some similar questions, and I appreciate that. And I feel like some of my questions are a little insignificant compared to the whole scope of everything, but I'm going to ask anyway. Just talking about the chain link, I completely agree with the comments that have been made about the chain link, and especially the black chain link around the dog park. I think that's fantastic. I think that's just the right look and the right way to go. Knowing that we live in Saratoga Springs and we have some unique issues here with fences catching tumbleweeds constantly every year, and sometimes more excessive than others. I'm having a tough time envisioning a little bit about the chain link on the north end of the lake, the proposed lake. Wondering if we can talk a little bit about that and get an idea, a little bit more of the visual, what's on each side, and what my bottom line concern is, we're setting things up to be the best, visually, the best circumstance, of course, without excessive cost and whatnot, but something that's reasonable. What's on? We got the lake on one side, or we have a buffer between the lake and the fence. What's going on even on the opposite side of the fence? What are we looking at? Is that a question for Tippy, or?
Yeah, Nate, if you could describe this a little more. I'm pulling up the plans, but it looks like it's just their undisturbed open space and trail system on the north side, and that's also where some more significant slopes are between Camp Williams and this site with the mining. I think it is really the border between Camp Williams and the lake. So Nate, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're absolutely correct, Tippy. You know, we have to have a fence there. It's going to be on the north end over there where we're putting in this lake. We can't have an open body of water that's man-made and not fence it. So our intent by doing this is to pull that fence all the way over to our property boundary to create as nice an atmosphere around the fence as we possibly can. We recognize that with a fence comes maintenance. We will be developing the homes to the east and to the south, where we may have some tumbleweeds that come through now. You know, the build out will have homes there that I think those tumbleweeds will hit first. So I appreciate the comment. It's great. It's great to look forward and look at the foresight of, you know, where are we headed with this. But if there is an issue, it would be a maintenance issue. I don't think it'll be there because I think long term we'll have homes there.
Thanks, Nate. The opposite side of the fence, I'm assuming, is outside of the development and outside of the ownership of land.
Tippy, are you able to pull up the map that shows?
Yeah, just a second. It's just taking me a second.
Even if you went back down to the slide you had, I think that showed where the fence was. That's probably enough.
Oh, okay, hold on. I don't think I included that image. It was in the staff report, but is it here?
So that map right there shows it. So you can see our north boundary is Camp Williams. where the lake is. And then our east boundary is a power corridor where the power lines are. And that ultimately will transition over to homes in the Mountain View corridor. And then our south boundary is property that's currently owned by the United States of America and Rocky Mountain Power. There's two different property owners. There you go.
Okay, so there is a trail corridor that comes off of Wild Blossom Boulevard behind this fence and up and over. That's shown on the trail plan.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that would be behind there. So some steeper slopes and a trail at the very top.
And there's a good mountain that goes straight up there on the north.
Okay, so looking ahead, we have our typical fall winds. We bring in all that tumbleweed and debris or whatever it is. What does that look like as far as maintenance, cleanup on both sides of the fence? Do we just have water on one side and it's going to be tough to maintain? And who's going to maintain that?
Well, the property fence itself would be owned and maintained by the master Wildflower HOA. And I would assume they would go in on both sides of the fence, and because it's a chain link, they would pull whatever debris or garbage is showing on either side of the fence and clean it up.
Okay. So as an alternative, currently, is that the Simtech fencing that originally is proposed?
Yeah, so there's two other, there's other types of fencing allowed currently in the community plan. There's the Simtech, and then there's vinyl fencing. The reality is that if we're having to spend the dollars to install even a vinyl fence around the dog park, I don't have the money. It's cost prohibitive to fence in that area. That area you're looking at in yellow there on the south side of the road,
yeah,
is just over 30 acres. So to fence 30 acres with vinyl fencing with a dog park, it just is cost prohibitive. Plus the maintenance of that vinyl over time, which becomes brittle and breaks for a dog, it'd just be cost prohibitive. So
no, I have strong feelings that I think it's the right move to go chain link around a dog park. I think there's more activity. I think there's more drive for keeping things looking decent, the upkeep and so forth. Just because of the use and the activity in dog parks.
yeah.
What I get some concern about, and again, I don't want to spend too terribly much time on this. This is in the overall scheme of things. This is not as big of a deal as some other discussions. But as far as aesthetics, I don't want to feel like we're approving something that's going to cause things to look trashy, as we've seen in some other areas. If they're going to look trashy, it's better to hide it somehow with the solid type fence, with the Simtech or whatever. I agree. Vinyl fence has its place, but it does get brittle, and there is some upkeep issues with that. High winds doesn't do obviously near as well as chain link naturally. But that answers my question. I don't want to spend too much more time on that. I think that answers my questions on that. My only other thoughts. First, I wanted to say that I agree and I appreciate the staff, Tippy, and those involved in this. Very much agree with what was said and some of the recommendations and so forth. Going to the concrete versus asphalt question, which has come up before. I'm always concerned when we start looking at an asphalt sidewalk, just because of the upkeep and because of the longevity and the maintenance costs and some of the inherent issues with asphalt when it comes to trails. what would be the benefit? Is it just simply a cost benefit of going concrete on one side? And where are we talking exactly? When we say on each side?
Yeah, so if you look here on Wild Blossom Boulevard, it's showing a trail on both sides of the road. And originally in the portion in Village 3A right here, staff had understood that this was to be concrete with the road cross section, and the applicant had installed asphalt trail on both sides. So as a compromise, we had them install concrete on one side and left the asphalt on the other. So it would make sense to continue that as a compromise across the street. So it is a public street, but it is a private trail. So it's kind of in a weird crossover area for the city versus HOA to maintain.
Okay, so the city would maintain both sides?
Gordon, do you recall what we ended up deciding on this street? Is it completely going to be the HOA to maintain the sidewalks and trails along Wild Blossom Boulevard?
I wasn't part of those negotiations. Nate could probably answer that better than I.
My understanding is that the HOA, the developer, will be responsible to maintain the trails. That'll be on us.
Okay. So they're planning on maintaining the trails. It is a public street, so that's why we were concerned.
Well, one thing I'll just point out here is, yeah, typically it'd be concrete on both sides. You know, the one advantage to asphalt is that if you're a runner, you'll notice runners don't run on concrete if they don't have to. A lot of times you'll actually see them running out in the street because, believe it or not, running on asphalt is softer than concrete. Yeah, if you face plant down there, probably will feel the same regardless. But there is a definite advantage to those people that use it for exercise that do use asphalt over concrete. So by having both those, it gives them that option, and you know, safer. It keeps them from running out in the street, which a lot of them do.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And that's, I did have something, wanted to talk a little bit about storage units, but we'll save that to the end, it sounds like. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner McConkey. Do I have other comments from the commission outside of discussion we're going to hold separately on storage units? Anyone else want to make a comment or have questions? Okay, so I'll go ahead. I had questions on why the asphalt and concrete that I wanted to bring up, but it looks like those have been covered. So I'm going to leave that. On the dog park, will this be open to the public of Saratoga Springs, or is this going to just be available to the HOA for the Wildflower area?
I believe it's just HOA only. So that is including
Okay.
the lake and the dog park.
All right. And I did notice on one of the maps, I can't remember which one it was, it showed like an open air storage area. Is that going to be separate from the other storage area, or is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, that's on Village 2. So here, let me skip ahead a second because I've got, here we go. It's right here. So north is facing to the left. So this is Wild Hills or Wild Blossom Boulevard. This is Mountain View. This is that single family or multi, and it's right across from that with a trail corridor going around it.
So that's going to be like for trailer storage for the people who live in the whole development, or just that village? Okay. I think Harvest Hills says something like that. The whole development. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they're doing that. So if people have trailers or boats, we'll have a place to store them. They don't have to try and store them on the street, which is against city code, or store them next to their house or something. I'm glad that they're doing that's included. That's a great feature. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open up the discussion then on the storage units within the business area. My feelings right now after the discussion we've had, brief discussion we've had so far, is that I'm leaning more towards let's defer this when the village plan comes in and whether or not we're going to allow it. I know I'm punting, but that's kind of my feelings at this moment. I'll go ahead and turn it over to the rest of the planning commission for more questions or more in-depth discussion. It sounded like Commissioner McConkey had some comments, so I'll let him go first. And then if you want to make some comment, let me know, and we'll go with whoever after Commissioner McConkey.
Thank you, Commissioner Cunningham. I just want to talk a little bit about the buffer, which I think that if I understand this correctly, the intent behind maintaining the status quo is that it would limit and decrease the buffer, if you will, or the transition. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, we want the more intensive uses on the south end.
Right. And I appreciate that. I'm wondering, and we're looking at, my screen's a little fuzzy here. There's a road right there that separates that piece of property from the other areas. Yes, northwest of that. And I'm curious to know if that, how much difference, to be honest with you, I've agreed with that, and just to maintain what's already been approved. But I'm wondering if there's if that street acts also as a transition, and if it will make much difference. I'm just curious to know what everyone else thinks on that.
Yeah, from staff's perspective, everything south of this road, and this is probably going to connect back to SR 73 here again. That's probably the most visible corner of the Wildflower commercial area to the city. So even though it's more intensive on the south end in general, I would imagine that it would be a better location for a regional commercial type use, like the shopping centers or retail or restaurant areas that we envisioned before the zone change happened to planned community. Originally, this area was entirely regional commercial with the first Wildflower approval.
Okay, enough said. I totally agree. That's all I have. Thank you.
Any other comments from the commission in regards to the?
Yeah, I like to go then. So I think
Go ahead, Kent.
Yeah, I think I agree with what Commissioner Cunningham said about maybe we do punt this, but I do agree that maybe we don't want to rezone, but that we, since it's a planned community and it does allow it, that we consider the exception to have storage units, because I think storage units are a nice thing to have. In fact, we had a discussion about storage units a while ago, and we're saying, how do we encourage more of that? Because we have to drive almost all the way up to the southern part of this. Residents in the southern part of the city have to drive all the way up to the northern part of the city or middle part of the city in order to have storage units. And it'd be nice if there's a little bit more local access and taking that kind of pressure off of what does exist so far, or where they tend to congregate. So if we could do this, I think it does make sense for the residents. And since we have the exception process available in this kind of a development, why not make use of it without having to make the zone change? So I am in favor maybe of that kind of process. As far as where it goes, that's where I'd like to maybe push it down to till we see the to the next phase.
Thank you, Commissioner Kirgle. Any other comments from the commission? Okay, I do like what was presented. It would be nice to keep that area regional commercial, like Tippy suggested, just because it is going to be high profile. There's going to be a lot of cars going along that area. It would be unfortunate to lose that frontage to a storage type place. However, I do understand that we do have a need for water and a water storage. So I'm thinking maybe the exception process might be the way to go with this. All right, I will entertain a motion at this time. Tippy, can you put the motion up on the board, on the screen for us? Board, sorry.
It might just be lagging a little bit.
Okay,
This is Commissioner Ryan. I move that the Planning Commission forward a positive recommendation to the City Council for the major amendment to Wildflower Community Plan located at approximately Harvest Hills Boulevard and Mountain View Corridor based on the following findings and conditions in the staff report dated March 25th, 2021.
Second,
I have a motion from Commissioner Ryan. Do we have a second?
second from Commissioner Anderson.
Second for Commissioner Anderson. Do we have a question on the motion? Okay, I will go ahead and we'll do
I
a,
have a question. So regarding
yes, go ahead.
The storage units, do we need to say something about that, or does the condition specify that we will, pass it to the next phase?
Tippy's highlighting, it was my understanding that that still gives us the opportunity to address at the village plan level, which I think you were spot on, Commissioner Kilgore, in your analysis. And Commissioner Cunningham, Chair Cunningham, I think was supporting what you were saying. And that's my personal feelings. Like, I don't feel like we should offer a zone change that we could possibly address at a village plan level, which I think this allows us for what Tippy is highlighting there.
Wait, where are you highlighting? So, okay, so the conditions as is does allow that then. That's all I'm asking. I didn't know if there was a separate condition. Or we had to make it, okay.
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 All right, this time I'll go through and do a roll call vote, and I'll start with Commissioner Ryan because I always seem to end with him. So I'll let him go first.
Aye, thank you.
Commissioner McConkey,
Aye.
Commissioner Barton,
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson, did you vote? I couldn't hear you.
Yes, aye. Thank you.
Aye, okay. Commissioner Kilgore
Aye.
and Commissioner Cunningham, aye. I didn't miss anyone, correct? 'Cause I thought I missed Commissioner Anderson one week, but all right. We're gonna go ahead. Thank you, Tippy, for that. We're gonna go on to the next item, which is also a public hearing for Wildflower Village Plan 2, approximately Mountain View Corridor and Harvest Hills Boulevard. Nate Ship, DAA, as the applicant, and Tippy Moreland will be presenting that for us as well. Go ahead, Tippy.
Thank you, Chair. For this village plan, since the community plan amendment was recommended approval, this village plan as it is matches what staff has recommended in our conditions of approval. So I'll just get that out there first. This village plan is just south of Harvest Hills Boulevard, where it turns into Wild Blossom, and Mountain View Corridor. So just south of Village Plan 3A, which is currently under construction. It consists of 81 acres, 210 multifamily units. I believe it's a combination of condos and townhomes. And 13 acres of open space that is not included in the 20% required for type 4. So this open space is that green space around the storage area. No exceptions are requested once the community plan amendment goes through. And staff does recommend, since this is a village plan stage for one of 2 commercial villages, staff does not recommend storage units in this particular village plan. And we would like to see a layout of where the applicant recommends it for Village Plan 5, which is the southern portion. And here's the layout, and I'll turn this over to the commission for any questions.
Okay, so Nate Ship, do you have any comments you'd like to add to Tippy's representation?
Tippy's done great once again. We like this. We think it's ready to move forward.
Okay, thank you. Since this is a public hearing, I'll open this up for public comment. And I'll start with Tippy Moreland. Do you have any, did you receive any comments from the public in regards to this?
I have not.
Planning Director Stroud, have you received any comments? I didn't hear him.
No, I've just got.
No comments?
Yeah, no, I've not received any comments.
Okay, and then Ken Young, what should I call you? Did you receive any?
No, I
In
did
fact,
not.
maybe I haven't let you introduce yourself. Do you want to take a minute and introduce yourself to the rest of the commission? What you
Sure.
do for the city?
Ken Young, the new Community Development Director, a new position created here at the city, combining the building department and the planning department with economic development. Just started this Monday, moved in from Rapid City, South Dakota, was there for 3.5 years, prior to which I was at Pleasant Grove City for 11 years and other places here in Utah. So glad to be back in town or in the state and enjoy being a part of what's going on here in Saratoga Springs.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Okay, I just checked and I have not received any comments from the public either. So we'll go ahead and close public comment and open this item to the Planning Commission. And if Commissioner Kilgore is ready or has questions, I'll let him start first.
Yes, thank you. First of all, under the village plan approval code criteria, section H, it says that I thought the applicant isn't changing the ERUs. So why does compliance? It's a can comply. I was wondering, why does compliance require passing the amendment request? Or is this part of the 10% transfer of the ERUs? Is that the reason why?
The ERUs are not proposed in this area. I think for this one, the composition of the trails on the west side here, and then the relocation of open space into these detention areas were the biggest changes here. So
Okay.
it previously was one big open space parcel here, but now they're proposing detention areas here.
Yeah, so then on HB, it says does not exceed the total number of equivalent residential units dictated in the adopted community plan, and staff finding is it can comply subject to approval of the community plan amendment. So is that not really relevant then at this point?
Oh yeah, that must have been, I was doing 7 and 2 at the same time. I also have village 4 in progress, so.
Okay, no problem then we don't have to worry about that, can comply. Will the applicant receive a letter from UDOT accepting the changes to the proposed storm drain along the Mountain View corridor? Because there's a component here that's subject to you receiving some kind of a letter from UDOT about making changes to that storm drain. And I was wondering, are you expecting to receive it, or have you received it?
So let me weigh in on that, please.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gordon.
I'm not exactly sure what the wording says there in the condition, but the city sent it was really a matter of the city sending a letter to UDOT, putting them on notice that that the discharge flow rate and volume to their property there on the other side of SR 73 would remain historical. I sent that letter to them. They responded saying I received a brief email saying, thanks for your letter. We will we'll have a response. So that item is a little bit up in the air. There's some legalities associated with how much leverage UDOT has there. So that's all I have to offer at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I
Um,
believe if
yeah.
it was in the checklist, I actually removed it from the conditions because of the pending agreements between, or the discussions between the city and UDOT on that topic.
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't in the conditions. It was just one of the items. So thank you for that explanation. I have another one on, let's see, what page is this? This is part of the, keeps moving. The hold harmless indemnification. This is one of the appendices that it's in the stormwater agreement. And on page 5 of that stormwater agreement is item number 14, hold harmless indemnification. And it says one of the items there, it says indemnity. What does, this is my question. What does excluding liabilities caused by acts of God or storms in excess of 100-year storm event? And the reason why I ask is, aren't all storms acts of God? Or it's a question. Are all storms acts of God? And what if a 100-year storm event starts happening every 5 years now? Or is that just a definition by the state? So I'm just wondering, are they harmless if all storms happen, or how does that definition work?
So the industry standard is to design to protect structures from an event that has a 1% chance of happening in any given year. It's a bit of a misnomer to call it a 100-year storm, but that's the everyday term for it. The real term is a storm that has a 1% chance of happening in any given year. And storms of that intensity and below are the ones that we design for to protect structures. If a storm that produces flows greater than that comes along and destroys or harms it, causes destruction to a structure, that's considered an act of God. And it's treated differently in the industry as far as our insurance and liabilities and so forth. Does that answer your question?
Yes, forgive me for not knowing that legally. So it sounds like then it's a matter what an act of God is according in this. Well, it's standard for the industry, but also in this agreement is that if it's something that is just it's a matter of scale, not the event itself, but it's a matter of scale of that event.
Yeah, we just have to, at some point, we have to decide that we're just not going to go to the expense of protecting for such a small chance of something happening.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. And that's all the questions I had.
Thank you, Commissioner Kilgore. Do I have any other comments? Commissioner McConkey, do you have any comments?
I don't have any on this. Thanks.
Okay. Any other comments from the commissioners? All right. So one of the Tippy, one of the things we need to decide for this is on the storage units. Is that correct? An exception for that?
Yes. So since we did not request that they reclassify this village plan to include office warehouse, I don't think we need to be specific. I don't believe that they identify this as office warehouse. So yeah, they don't. So all of these parcels are identified as neighborhood commercial and community commercial. And talking to the applicant, I believe we're going to revise this to just show community commercial. There's not a lot of difference between neighborhood and community commercial, just some slight differences in the setbacks and the building heights.
Okay.
So going with that, the way that it's shown, we don't need to specify in this village plan.
Okay. All right. So if we don't have any other questions that we need to answer as a commission, I'll go ahead and open this for a motion. And Tippy, can you bring the motion up on the screen for us? Thanks.
I can do that. I move that the Planning Commission forward a positive recommendation to the City Council for Wildflower Village Plan 2. Am I on the right one?
Yes.
Okay, located at approximately Harvest Hills Boulevard and Mountain View Corridor based on the following findings and subject to the following conditions. And there are findings and conditions.
We have a motion from Commissioner Barton. Do we have a second on the motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, so Commissioner McConkey has a second. Is that okay? Commissioner Cook-Kilgore? Okay. Do we have any question on the motion? All right, so I'll go through and we'll do a roll call vote here. I'll start with me. I'll go aye. Commissioner Kilgore.
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Barton.
Aye.
Commissioner McConkey.
Aye.
And Commissioner Ryan.
Aye, thank you.
Okay, so that passes unanimously. We'll go ahead and move on to the next item, which is also a public hearing on Wildflower Village Plan 7, approximately Mountain View Corridor and Harvest Moon Drive. Nate Ship DI as the applicant, and this will be presented by Tippy Moreland again. Go ahead, Tippy, whenever you're ready.
Thanks. This village plan is directly west of Village 2 and Village 3 in Wildflower. It's the first section of the former Springs development that is currently under review, so that's kind of exciting. This area is a total of 98, almost 99 acres and consists of 488 ERUs. This also is contingent on approval of the community plan amendment because they are reshuffling ERUs specifically in this western section of the Wildflower. They're requesting a lot more townhome units to be dispersed on the south end of this area. So this includes that change and will be contingent upon council approval of the community plan amendment. So the way that they have it currently is that it consists of 118 single family lots and 370 multifamily lots with 43 acres of open space. So again, this does not include the 20% open space within the multifamily areas. No exceptions are being requested as long as the community plan amendment is approved. And this is the current layout. So you can see that this is Harvest or Wild Blossom Boulevard as it extends west into the former Springs or the Western Wildflower area. And with that, I'll turn this item back over to the Planning Commission for questions and comments.
Mr. Ship, do you have any comments you'd like to add to Tippy's presentation?
No, we appreciate your time and Tippy's response. I'd be happy to answer any questions though.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ship. This is a public hearing, so I'll go ahead and open this up for public comment. I'll start with Tippy. Did you receive any comments from the public in this item?
I have not.
Director Stroud, did you receive any comments from the public?
Either.
And then Mr. Young, did you receive any on behalf of the city for this item?
No.
And I'm just checking my city email and I have not received any for this item. So we'll go ahead and close the public comment and we will, I'll open this up to the Planning Commission for comment and I'll go ahead and turn the time over to Ken Kilgore for comment.
I have no comments or questions.
Okay. Commissioner McConkey, do you have any questions or comments for this?
I don't have any on this either.
Okay. How about I just do this? Commissioner Anderson, do you have anything you'd like to add or any questions on this item?
No, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Barton, do you have anything
I don't.
you'd like to add? Commissioner Ryan, do you have anything you want to add on this? You haven't got to say much today.
No, I don't. I'm just a little bit in shock. I'm a little lost here without Commissioner Kilgore always shines so brightly for the rest of us. I'm trying to take it all in, you didn't have some in-depth serious questions that the rest of us may have missed. So no, I didn't. In reviewing this, I didn't have anything either.
Okay, so I don't have anything to add or ask, so we'll go ahead and open this up for a motion. Tippy, can you bring the motion up on
Yeah.
the screen? Thanks.
If I got this off the staff packet, I move that the Planning Commission forward a positive recommendation to the City Council for Wildflower Village Plan 7, located at approximately Harvest Hills Boulevard and Mountain View Corridor, based on the following findings and subject to the following conditions in the staff report. Did I get that right?
Okay, yep. A motion from Commissioner Kilgore. Do you have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, second for Commissioner McConkey. Do we have a question on the motion? All right, we'll go through it then, and I'll start with Commissioner Ryan again.
Aye, thank you.
Commissioner McConkey,
Aye.
Commissioner Barton,
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Kilgore,
Aye.
and Commissioner Cunningham, aye. So that item passes unanimously. Okay. Thank you for your time, Tippy, and Mr. Ship for your time here with us this evening. The next item is approval of minutes. Did everyone have an opportunity to review the minutes and send any changes to Nicolette for the minutes? Or do you have anything, anyone need to bring up some changes on the minutes now? I'll open that up for that. Okay, if not, I will go ahead and entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Commissioner Cunningham, Chair Cunningham, this is Commissioner Ryan. I motion to approve the minutes from the Planning Commission dated Thursday, March 11th, 2021.
We have a
I'll
motion.
second
Okay, and then we have a motion from Commissioner Ryan and a second from Commissioner Barton. Any question on the motion? Okay. Go ahead and start in the middle. Commissioner Barton,
Aye.
Commissioner McConkey,
Aye.
Commissioner Ryan,
Aye, thank you.
Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Kilgore,
Aye.
and Commissioner Cunningham, aye. All right, that motion passes. Next is commissioner comments. Do you have any commissioners that would like to make comments this evening on anything?
I have something that's
Go ahead,
on my
Commissioner
mind.
McConkey.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just a thought, with how many units are we looking at with these three items of business today? Has anyone totaled those?
I have a scientific answer for you. It's a lot.
The total number of units in Wildflower is 3,238 plus 14 if they sell the cemetery to Camp Williams. And then Village 2 has 210 units, and then Village 7 has was it 488 of those units.
Okay. So what the thought that sparks in my mind is as we have so many more residential units coming in, somehow we've got to balance that commercial and bring in enough business to help cover the long-term cost, the tax revenue, the infrastructure, just the needs, both the direct needs of our city, but just the revenue as well. So I don't know. I know we've got a big chunk of land in the center, and so forth, but is there something more that can be done to bring in more commercial? And are we looking at how to handle all the extra traffic and activity that's going to make this city even more amazing?
As far as economic development goes, I know that we are looking to hire a new economic development director. I worked closely with Dave Johnson previously on trying to work with DAI and potential businesses coming into this area. So hopefully as soon as we get that person on board, we'll be able to coordinate with them. And then Nate is no longer on here, but I heard him say earlier today that they were trying to get a grocery store in on the north end above the 210 units in Village 2. So I'm hopeful that that's the type of use that they'll be getting there in that community commercial area.
Yeah, just to touch base there, a lot of these, community plans that come in, of course, they do the community plan first. That outlines the very broad standards. So it's kind of already identified where these commercial locations will be. And, it kind of the old adage, if you build it, they'll come. So hopefully it gives these opportunities that we have these places identified for commercial to come in. Now, what specific commercial uses, we hear a lot on social media of the residents saying, oh, get this business, get this business. It's not quite that easy. Every business has their certain matrix, their formula they use to say, okay, we need X population or X rooftops within a mile, whatever it is,
Yeah.
So we can certainly, when our economic development director comes on board, certainly, hope they can reach out and, they touch base with various businesses. The city does go to there's a economic development conference every year. I don't think they had it this last year, but I believe it's in Las Vegas. Mark and Owen would go. Dave Johnson would go. I suspect Ken will go here next time we have it scheduled, where basically it's a big meeting for, big time developers and cities go down there and they talk to them and they pitch what they have in their community. And, there's been some success in that, in getting business contacts and getting businesses, maybe in Saratoga, maybe somewhere else, but at least get that out there. So they say, hey, we've got a place for you to locate, and hopefully they do. But obviously when our economic development comes on board, that's going to be, their main emphasis obviously is business generation, job creation, that sort of thing.
I may be naive, but I've been thinking that we're getting 2 hospitals, right? And I don't remember how many jobs those. I'd expect it to be hundreds of jobs that are associated with 2 hospitals, not to mention all the support businesses that would have to, crop up around all that, all those employees in those locations. Am I naive about that, or is that what we're expecting?
No, the hospitals are coming in. To what extent and what, the density they're going to have. Until something's applied for, we don't know. I believe I've been talking to IHC lately. I believe the IHC community plan, they have community plan approval right now. We're actually talking to them about village plan. They'll be submitting their village plan soon. The community plan for the IHC property, I want to say I thought it was near 1 million square feet. Now IHC won't be building all of that. In discussions we've had with them, they'll take a portion of the property, and then, when you build a hospital facility, what do you get around it? You get, other medical type facilities to assist in whatever's going on there. And so there'll still be a medical campus with IHC. There'll be the University of Utah will still do theirs, but yeah, we'll have a core area there in what, if we call it our downtown, will be medical, and hopefully get other businesses that will play off those uses.
More restaurants, yeah, that'd be good.
Got to eat somewhere.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to the director's report. Director Stroud.
Yeah, just a couple things. Of course, Ken's on board now, so we're glad to have him here. Get going on some things. We are interviewing. We did interviews last week for a planner 1 full-time position. We've narrowed that down. I will be doing second interviews for that this week, and so hopefully we'll get somebody on board. Obviously certain time frames, where people are working, where they may be living. I suspect around the 1st of May. Logically, we'll have another planner on board to take care of those, the entry level duties. Rachel Day, who's been a planning commission before, she's at part-time now, and so she'll still do projects, but we still see the need to have a planner 1 to help balance out our staff levels. And I think we got some good candidates that we've interviewed, and hopefully one of these 3 that we interview Thursday will work out.
Okay, thanks, Director Stroud. Do we have a need to go into a closed session at this time?
We do not.
Okay, then I guess we'll stand adjourned, and we don't have a meeting the first part of April because of spring break, correct?
Correct.
We'll have one later in the
No.
month.
Yeah, correct. Canceled. The April 8th meeting is canceled because of spring break. We will have the regularly scheduled April 22nd.
All right, so this meeting will stand adjourned until April 22nd. Thanks, everyone, for attending.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you guys.